When we go on trips, when we go to visit a certain place, when we go on pilgrimage, at the end of our visit, it's normal for us to want to buy a souvenir. Now, what is the role of buying a souvenir? Why do we want a souvenir? Something to remind us of our trip, so that we remember later on all of the graces that we received, the good times that we had, the people that we met. That object that we buy, when we look at it, we're going to remember everything that happened during that trip. And that's the role of a souvenir. An anecdote from the life of Pope Pius X, St. Pius X, who was the Pope at the beginning of the 20th century, is going to help us to put our hearts and our memory on what really matters. And those are the great graces, the great moments when God speaks to us, when God touches our soul, when God reveals himself to us in a special manner. One day, an American ambassador went to visit the Pope, and he had an audience with His Sanctity, Pius X. They started speaking, greeting each other, and then in the middle of the visit, Pope Pius X takes out of his pocket a watch. In those times, in the early 20th century, they still used pocket watches. And Pope Pius X had a very simple watch, kind of out of date. And when the American ambassador saw the watch he was using, he said, "Your Sanctity, you can't use such a simple watch." And then he showed him his watch. He was a millionaire. He had a golden watch. It was adorned with diamonds. It had a nice silver bell to announce the hour. And he said, "I'll make you a deal. I would like to have a souvenir to remember this visit with you. Here, take my watch and I'll take yours." And the Pope looked at him and said, "I cannot give you this watch because my watch is much, much more precious than your watch." And the man didn't understand. Pope Pius X became a little emotional. He was remembering his childhood. And then he told the American ambassador why his watch was more precious. He was from a very poor family. His father was a postman who had to walk long hours every day just to put food on the family table. Afterwards, he passed away. His mother had to continue sustaining them. When he would go to school, they were so poor, and not to wear out the only pair of shoes that he had, he would walk barefoot. And only at arriving at the school, upon arriving, would he put on his shoes to attend class. On his 13th birthday, when he was 13 years old, I don't know if it was on his birthday or a little afterwards, when he was 13 years old, Pope Pius X, he made his first communion. And afterwards, his mother brought to him, wrapped in a nice silk cloth, the watch that he was still wearing. And he told the American ambassador, "This watch is very precious to me. It's almost a sacred object." Why? Because it reminds me of the first time that I received our Lord Jesus Christ in the Eucharist. It reminds me of this great day when I had the grace to receive our Lord for the first time. But not only that, it also reminds me of the great sacrifice that my mother, out of love for me, out of love for our Lord, that she made to be able to give me this watch that nowadays is out of date. It's a poor watch. It's made of nickel, but it's worth more than any other watch made of gold or diamonds. Because why? Now, why was this watch so valuable? Because it reminded St. Pius X of a great grace that he had received as a child. And so every time he would look at the time, he would also remember his first communion. He would also remember the sacrifice that his mother made. And the man who was visiting the Pope, he said, "I understand, Your Sanctity. How grateful must your mother have been to have had such a holy son?" And what was the Pope's response? "No. Say first how grateful this son is to have had such a holy mother." So what is the role of a souvenir? What is the role of carrying with us a holy object? Because by carrying with us a souvenir that reminds us of a grace that we received, of a special place that we visited, of an encounter that we had, this object will help us to think about these things along the day and not to be so caught up in the practical, pragmatic world that often takes over our entire being. So it's important to always carry with us something holy, something sacred, some object, be it a cross, be it a rosary, because every time we touch that object or we see that object, it's going to help us to elevate our thoughts, to think about what really matters in life. And what really matters is our relationship with God, our relationship with our Lord Jesus Christ in the Eucharist, our relationship with Our Lady by praying the Rosary, and our relationship with heaven in general, because we are only pilgrims on this earth. And when we leave this earth, we don't take any souvenirs with us, but our body and our soul are separated. Our soul will go to heaven if we are faithful to our calling here on earth, and at the last judgment, our body will be reunited to our soul. So let's always have our thoughts elevated, our thoughts thinking about heaven, our thoughts in the Holy Eucharist, and those things that really matter. May Our Lady help all of you, and may St. Pius X grant us this grace to always give value to what really matters. And what really matters is, above all, our relationship with God. Salve Maria.
If you like this video, press the like button and leave a comment below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell so you won't miss any of our videos.